Hey, my beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode of the Balanced Boss Mom podcast. I'm your host, Erika, and today we are talking about all things motherhood, mindset, and making magic happen when we're dealing with life issues. So,
I
without
told you to
losing yourself,
surprise me, but that's a surprise, girl. Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
without losing yourself in the process. So that's something we're going to talk about today. Again, as I stated, I'm your host, Erica, and today's episode is one I will be speaking directly to your soul, if not within your soul. So take note, take heed of this wonderful conversation that's about to happen. And we're diving into self mastery, spiritual alignment, and finding the divine connection from within.
Mm.
Joining me is someone who works deeply with all of these topics that we're going to discuss today. I am so excited because her name is Jacqueline, and she is a self mastery guide, best-selling author, a speaker, and she has a podcast and a TV host. So,
Mhm.
without further ado, I want you guys
Mm.
to applaud her because I applaud her. Okay, and her name is Jacqueline. Welcome to the show.
I am taking you everywhere. I am taking you everywhere. And every time someone says, "Tell me who you are," I'm just gonna say, "Here's Miss Erica." Go. She'll tell you. She does such a great job. I love that. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. Thank you so much for having me in your beautiful space, talking to your incredible people. I am so blessed to be here. I'm so excited to talk to you about whatever it is we're talking about today. I know I told you I work best when I don't know what's going on. Otherwise, I get in my head. That's this is like tip number one.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the element of surprise and curiosity work best when it comes to managing all things because
Mm-hmm.
if you know ahead of time, you overthink it. I
That's
overthink
true.
it. That
That is so
perfectionism
true.
gets out. That's how you combat perfectionism. You just surprise yourself with what you're going to do today.
I know, and I'm so excited to get in all of these topics today. Of course, like I said, I am in my mom mode this morning because I had to drop off little Miss Ariana today. So I'm in my
Mm.
mom mode era right now, as you guys can see on the YouTube channel. If you can't see it on the audio, just know it's the mom era that I'm in. So I love that we're going to go completely off script because this is something, one, I've never done before where I've gone completely off script with the podcast. And
Oh,
two, it's something where I like having a conversation just ever flows and ever grows. So I'm really excited to talk about all the things like, self mastery. Can we go back into a time where how this all began for you?
oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. Let's just go back and pick a time. Pick a
Okay,
time.
let's pick a time.
Pick a time. There's lots of times when this has happened for me. As I'm sure many people can relate to, there's lots of times throughout your life when something pivots, something shifts, something changes, something evolves, something emerges, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can literally, my theme and the theme I teach my clients and my audience is self mastery. Self mastery, first off, for those that are like, what is she talking about? Self mastery is the journey of life.
Okay.
Okay. And it is the mastering of the best version of you that you came here to be as a representative of the divine. You are a spark of God that
Okay.
lives so deeply within you, whether you call it God or the universe, Allah, the divine, all that is,
Mm-hmm.
just something bigger than me. It doesn't matter. You are an extension of that, right?
Right.
Self mastery is our ability to master that best version of who we are, to show up and live it every day. And so for me, there's many times on my journey when that has been asked of me, like,
Mhm.
girl, up, girl, step to the next version, girl, let's go back from the beginning, right? The
Mhm.
most pivotal moment was when my spiritual journey started to begin with. And this was back in 2011. My son was born in 2009. So it was
Mhm.
2011 when my journey started. The dark night of the soul, as some in the community would talk about, like when you really truly don't know what's going on. I had started a
Mhm.
daycare at home and
Okay.
wanted to be home with my kids. So I turned my house into a daycare, certified in our state. Like it was a legit. And no one, everyone in the area was so booked. No one was coming. People were
Oh,
referring me.
wow.
Like the agency was telling people, but no one was coming. And I remember going, God, if you're even a thing, if like stop laughing at me, like seriously, like can you please come down and move heaven and earth so that I can be where I'm supposed to be how I'm supposed to be it, like all the things. And within 2 weeks, my ex-husband, my husband at the time, he got
Mhm.
orders to go active duty and to move to Colorado. So I was like, duh, that's why this wasn't taking off. If it was like full and overflowing, I would have
Oh.
totally not jumped on the Colorado bandwagon and moved, right? So
Mhm.
it was the universe's way of going, hang on, I got something for you. We're pivoting you soon. It's not working because it's not supposed to. And we ended up in Colorado Springs, and that started the military journey for us. But in that moment, really truly being at a space of questioning everything and then having
Mhm.
the divine show up in such a way where I was like, whoa, this is like something's listening to me,
Something's
and that
happening.
something's happening. Yeah. And
Mhm.
so that's where it started. And I started diving into metaphysical. I started diving into, a lot more of what I knew was true, which was that we're guided. We have guides, we have ancestors, we have, archangels. We have so much, so much, so much energy that surrounds us, supporting us all the time. And so I started really diving into that and expanding my knowledge around that. And it just literally launched me into my purpose and my path right now, being a
Mhm.
psychic, being an intuitive, being a healer, communicating with spirit, helping people do it for themselves. Like if I didn't have that moment in 2011, I would not have the life I have today in 2025. Like, hands down.
I like that. I like how the journey had unfolded. Like you said, you pivoted, and the pivot is a huge, huge word a lot of people are using in their life. And so I like that because I know we're going to kind of deep dive in a little bit into my life that you're going
Yes.
to guide me through.
Yes, my will.
And I like how you explain self mastery, which is a powerful, what is the word? Not powerful, but like intuitive, so to speak.
Yes,
So
very much.
what are some things that had took you through, like, what are some self-mastery, like, tips or guides that walked you through in this journey of this season of your life from, like, 2011 to now to 2025?
So, self mastery, again, becoming the best version of who you are and who you're meant to be is an
Mhm,
ever evolving process. This is the journey of life. It's never until you croak and you're on the other side, it is an ever unfolding path. But what we are doing is we're saying, I choose to be the best version of me in
mhm,
this moment now because I'm not the version I was 5 minutes ago. And I haven't obviously figured out the version I'm going to be tomorrow. But today, right now, I'm going to be the best version that I can be using everything I've learned and all the things I know and what I am connecting to and the emotions presenting themselves, right? Emotions are energy that move. Energy that moves is an emotion, energy in motion. And when we learn to really tap into those as symptoms, not like signs that things are ending, but symptoms that
mhm,
things are beginning, these are times when we really have an opportunity to meet ourselves where we are and choose to expand greater. So for me, along my path, I always jokingly say we all have that I say that one emotion that is prevalent
mhm.
for us. Mine is anxiety. I resonate with anxiety. When stuff's about to go down, anxiety comes through. And anxiety and I are besties, right? I don't look at
Mhm.
anxiety, you know, he or she's a negative aspect. It depends on the day, if it's a masculine anxiety, if it's feminine anxiety, But I don't look at it as a negative thing. I look at it as an ally. It's an aspect,
Okay.
coming through me, an emotion coming through me to move me in some way, shape, or form. And so for me, when I started learning how to communicate with myself around the emotions that I was having, I was being
Mhm,
cracked, right? And so I would say the first big shift or pivot for me was when we got to Colorado. How expansive it was, how big it was from my hometown. I think everybody's hometown is a small town. You know what I mean? Even when
right.
it's not.
Mhm.
My small
Yeah.
town of the Bronx or my small town of Manhattan. You know what I mean? Like it's like real small. But then you get to this new space and it feels so expansive. And Colorado Springs, like it is mountains and air for days. And so getting there
Mhm,
and just feeling like, wow, this is such a big moment, removing me from family and structure and stability. I mean, it's across the country from New York. And so
mhm,
this was a really big moment when this had the opportunity to grow me.
mhm.
Stepping into business, biggest opportunity to grow me. Stepping into motherhood, I met God 4 times in my life, face to face, and it was in the eyes of each one of my children that came forth. The first time I laid eyes on my babies, that's when I saw God immediately. And that, again, as a mom,
Mhm.
those are expansive moments of like, holy smokes, this is big, right?
Yeah.
So those are a few. I'm sure there are many, 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 but those are a real big few moments where life came through and the mastery, of that moment and of that experience and of that opportunity was presenting itself for me to really go deep and grow really big.
I like that. I like how you spoke about that because moving, especially moving from New York to Colorado, that's a huge jump, and it's all new and it's different and you got to meet new people and like you said, your business expand and it formed. And so I know we had talked about a little bit about how our conversations are going to run so deep with this conversation today about having the alignment. And we were talking about, I know previous in our conversations about bias, like, racial bias and all of that we're going to speak on. And so one of the things I want to talk about is alignment because I know we talked about how I have to learn how to make sure my what I'm doing is going to align with other things and I can always say no to those things. So I want to talk
Mm.
about a little bit about that.
Okay. So when it comes to alignment, I'm asking spirit to step forward to guide the conversation in a way that feels, mm, I don't want to say easy, but simple.
Mhm.
Alignment is our ability to connect to the inner being, the soul, and to that of the divine or to that of the presence that is all knowing, right?
Mhm.
Alignment is, they're saying also, one could look at integrity as alignment when what you are living and what you are saying and what you are working towards are all in accordance. They're in cohesion. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
you know,
Cohesive.
cohesive. Thank you. Thank you. That's the
Mhm.
word. And so when it comes to alignment, there's a big part of your healing journey that brings you into more of it. I see alignment as a capacity to experience more.
Mhm.
Like I work on alignment every single day. It's part of the mastery journey. Alignment for some can be very simple. In this moment, I feel really good. I know that this thing is good for me because it makes me feel really good. And so it must be coming from a higher version. Cool.
Mhm.
That's a really simple way of saying it. But I know that you can go deeper. I know that your audience can go deeper. I know that I certainly work at a very deep level. And
Mhm.
alignment is really, truly showing up every single day, looking at where you are, how you feel, who you want to be, where you're going to go, and
Mhm.
making sure that the moments that you have throughout that day are lining up with the greater version. We all have aspirations. We all have dreams. We all have a big version of where we want to see life go. And between where you are now and where you're going to go, where you see yourself, there's a
Mhm.
journey, there's a bridge. And that is when you're choosing to step into it and make those breadcrumbs count towards where you want to go. That's alignment. Do you know?
Oh, yeah, I see that because like I said, I see that for myself where there's a lot of things that are taking place right now where I am not so much people pleasing anymore. And I'm
True.
learning to like to say no a little bit more and where if it's like I don't want to pick up my phone today or I just don't want to do this. And I think a lot of people are starting to feel a challenge with me in reference to, well, why she don't want to answer my phone anymore? Or why she
Yeah.
it's because I'm getting older and I'm getting to the point where stuff that happened to me in my 20s, I don't want it to affect in my 30s. I'm 35 at this point. And like my grandmother, before she passed, she always used to ask me like, You need to stop existing and start living." She said, "If you keep existing and you stop, if you what she said, you keep existing and you stop living." She said, "Before you know it, Erica, you're gonna be 40, and you're
Yes.
gonna look at yourself and be like, what do you have to show for?" And now
Yes.
it's kinda happening because now I'm like, "Okay, I'm 35. What am I showing for?" Yes, I have a home. Yes, there's a vehicle in progress, but I want more. Like, I don't wanna do a 9 to 5 anymore. I wanna
Yes.
be able to work for myself, and I'd like how you said that alignment has that bridge because I feel like that is happening for me.
It's so happening. And sooner than you think, by the way. That's a psychic thing. I know you didn't ask, but hey, free
Mhm.
guidance on today's podcast episode. You're
Yeah.
welcome. That is happening much sooner than you know it. And it's actually going to be a really magical thing that I love and cannot wait to hear your podcast episode on. Oh my God, how this just took place for me. Because that's
Mhm.
what it really is. like. And, I love that you bring your grandmother's energy forward. I love that you bring your grandmother's energy forward. Because I love to feel it when people do that, especially with those that are on the other side.
Mhm.
And she's such a very wise soul, very, 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 very wise soul, but the wisdom comes from what she had to learn.
Mhm.
Because it's kind of like hey, this is something I didn't do. Like I was existing and existing. And that's one of the regrets, if you will, from the other side, is like I didn't really get to live. And that's what I wanted her to be able to do is what I wasn't able to, because times were so freaking different and
Yeah.
way, 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 way harder. So I love that you bring her energy forward and I get to feel it because it is a really beautiful energy. I think for you, I love that. I want to go back to the whole people pleasing thing. And I want to go back to the whole, I'm at a place in my life right now where I'm like literally purging out and eliminating the nonsense. And it might not be
Mhm.
nonsense. It just might be the concept of nonsense. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
be at my phone that can call, can I tell you a secret? My phone is on do not disturb all the time.
Oh,
I
I
don't,
love do not disturb, and I feel
I
like
don't
now people are getting mad at me for, like, for
like that.
example, get mad at me for putting on do not disturb, but I'm like,
Yeah.
"Hey, my phone goes on do not disturb at 5:30. I work till 6:30, and I said, I also have a podcast that I'm working on, so I am tired, and I don't wanna hear the drama, I just
Yeah.
don't wanna I feel like I've changed from my 20s to my 30s, where in my 20s, I was like, the drama, the cattiness, okay, fine, whatever. But now that I'm like in my 30s and being 35, I'm really like, I don't, I want good people around me. I want to be able to have um, financial wealth in my life, to be financially stable and show my daughter what financially being stable looks like. I want to have healthy conversations and healthy boundaries. And I'm trying to work towards that. I can see that it's happening and I can see that there's things that are coming. Um,
It's
because
called
like
mature. It
it is,
really is. It is
it's
maturity,
starting
but it's
to.
not. The way it was thrown around when we were small. You know what I mean? Like, no, this is like maturing. It is a maturing. It is motherhood, but it is also womanhood. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm,
And your higher version is like, we don't stand for this nonsense. We don't do that. Your higher version, your potent energy that's
mhm,
moving through you more and more and more these days is asking you to eliminate some of the things that we would call them distractions. Do you
mhm,
know what? Shout out to my girl Mel Robbins, but let them.
mhm.
Let them.
I read the
Let
book. I talked about it on my podcast. I have.
Whoa. Let them. This isn't a you thing. That's a you thing. Them
Mhm,
thing. You're not accessible to me no more. I need you. I need to purge on you. I need to vomit on you. I need to have you tell me I'm right. I need you to laugh with me about this because I'm bored. I need you. Like that's a them problem. That's not a you
mhm,
problem. Because you're right. You're getting you right. You're getting yourself sorted and you've got eyes that are watching and we always are evolving and we are in our consciousness too. I want for my children more than what I had
I
and my
want for
parents wanted for
myself.
me more than they had, and so like, that's the process here. And so I love that people pleasing. When I speak about it and teach about it, it's a prostitute energy is what it is. It's an
Mhm,
aspect of our ego. We relate to it as a shadow, and that's where we prostitute ourselves. We bend over backwards so that everybody else is happy. We make sure we go the mile so that they can say they're pleased with us. This is where
mhm,
we are constantly looking for confirmation and validation at the expense of our own life force energy, our own soul. I sell
mhm,
out so that I can be big. That's the prostitute energy, right? And it's a big, big, big part of us as women because we've been conditioned. We've been conditioned. I
mhm,
mean, hello, you birth the baby, you take care of the baby. I mean, from the moment the baby's born, it's reliant on the mom, not the dad.
mhm. Not the
Mom is
dad.
like, hey, come on.
And I like how
No.
you said about seek validation because that's something that I have tried to work on in reference to I don't want to have to always feel like I need to seek validation from other people.
Yeah.
And that's something I want to remove out my life because it's well, why is this person not talking? And now I see it in my daughter because my daughter's going through this thing where from first grade to second grade, I see like the confidence, like the shift in her confidence between first grade and second grade. And when she told me the other day how she feels like she has to be perfect all the time, I had to explain to her, you're too young to understand that kind of pressure. And you don't need to learn that kind of pressure because it's okay. You're learning something new and it's going to be frustrating at one point. And I had to give her the analogy of mommy used to play the violin since she was 4 years old. And when I was 3 or 4 years old, I I fell in love with the violin and I did. I fell in love with it completely. I still do. I really do. I was supposed to be a professional violinist. It's one of the things I wanted to be. But at one point in time, I started doing it. I love my mom, but I started doing it for my mom because my mom, she was she played the clarinet and you could see the similarities between me and my mom. And so I would try to figure out like why was it I felt like it still wasn't good for me in my eyes, still not good enough. And me and my mom just had this conversation where she was like, Erica, it's time for you to go back to therapy. She was like, I'm going to give you an example of she said, Erica, you don't trust people. And I said, there's a reason why I don't trust people. And she I think with me and my mom's relationship, she feels like I don't tell her everything. I tell her what she wants to know. And that's true because I feel like if I tell her everything, it's going to be a little bit judge. And mom, if you're hearing this, I don't want you to feel like I'm
Cool, Mom.
the
Hey, all
devil
good,
in your
girl.
life.
All good.
But that's what I felt throughout. That's what I felt. And she was like,
Can I just stop you because they're speaking and I have to talk, otherwise it feels like
sure. I hope it's my grandmother talking.
and it very much could be. You know what I mean? Like there's this thank you. We are not given a baton at 18 by our parent saying, "Congratulations, you're now an adult. You may go on."
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So at 18, when we are now thrusted into life and we are considered adults and things of that nature, the voice we have in our head is that of our parent.
True.
Am I doing this right? I can't do this right. I'm gonna be in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I got to do that different. Oh my God, and we constantly feel like we are going to be punished, but we are 18 and we're adults and we get to do what we want. It's very confusing. As a mom, my daughter's 25. She's married. She lives with her husband in Virginia. He's a Fairfax County police officer. I'm probably not supposed to say those things, but hey, if you're listening, sorry. I have raised my baby. And one of the things that I have come to understand, because I was very much in that whole space of, I will do it exactly the opposite of my mom. I love my mom too, but I will absolutely, whether she heard it or not, I would tell you, and she will tell you, I did it the other thing. If mom would have done it this way, I did it the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I examine the relationship I have with my mom. I want my children to want to be a friend of mine when they're 18 and they go off into college and they do their life. I want you to be
Mm-hmm.
my I am not a parent that's going to raise you and ever say to you, I am your mother. I am not your friend. Never, ever. That phrase makes me feeling very uneasy. As
Mm-hmm.
moms, that's all wonderful. You can be the authoritarian, but just know that to the level and degree you decide to be the authoritarian is the level and degree they will rebel because they are the authority.
Mm-hmm.
They are authority already. They know they came here. Your job is to buffer them. That's it. Their soul already is programmed. It's already in the know of who they are, where they're going, what they're going to do. I hate when the teachers ask what they're going to be because they're developing it. Don't ask.
They're doing that right here, right now at my daughter's school because today is career day, and they're doing where who do you want to be? And with my daughter, I told her, I said, you can be whatever you want to be. You could be a lawyer, you could be a doctor. There's so many forms. And
There's so many forms. And
I
I said to
told
my
her, I
son,
don't want that pressure. I don't want that
Mom,
pressure for you at all. You're only going on 8. You don't need
exactly.
that type of pressure. I told her, I said, be a kid. She's always talking, I can't wait to be an adult. I said, no, you don't. I said, because there's bills and there's real life struggles. And you have
Girl,
no idea what your mom goes
my,
through behind the
my
scenes when you're at work. So
yeah,
I was
my
like,
daughter.
you don't want to be an adult.
Yeah, my daughter said to my son, "You're rushing to get out of the house, and I'm rushing to get back." Like she's
Yeah.
like, "I don't want to do this no
That
more. I'm done."
that's that is so true. And it's almost like I said, it's about living and not existing because now, like I said, all my stuff, I didn't think a podcast would happen for me, to be honest with you. If I didn't wake up in the middle of my sleep and my phone was right next to me, I probably wouldn't be sitting here doing a podcast because I probably would have been like, you know what, maybe next month or maybe in 6 months. But now that I have taken the initiative and every Friday putting it out at 6:30, I'm so proud of myself that I did because now it gives me the chance to have my own voice and speak for my own opinion and what I want to do versus, "Oh, well, what if somebody don't like this?" Well, now I'm thinking if nobody likes it, you don't have to listen to it. You don't have
And,
to put it on
and,
YouTube.
and this and this goes back to the conversation too around, we don't get past the baton in adulthood.
Mhm.
But us as moms don't know how to turn off mom and go into friend. And that's I think a
Mhm.
lot with your mom, and again, never met the woman, and love her through you, but I want to talk to her because I know when my daughter came to me and she's like, "We're leaving, we're moving," I was like devastated. My child, I raised my best friend. I birthed her, I raised her. She's my everything. She's my
Mhm.
OBM, COO, my CFO, all of it. She's all of it. She's got her own business. She thrives. She does her thing. But I had to tell you, I needed a minute. I needed a minute
Mhm.
because immediately mom comes in, the fear comes in, the anxiety comes in, the you're leaving me, poor me, how dare you hate my
Mhm.
son. You know what I mean? Like, right? All of that comes in because immediately we think it's a us thing. And if something happens, it's on me. I let her go. Right. And so, like,
Mhm.
I want to speak to that because there's two things happening in a relational situation. This is a relationship. There's you
Mhm.
and then there's her. And what I had to learn as a mom is that there comes a time where we have to start handing over the reins and knowing in our hearts they are surrounded by their own guidance system. They're surrounded by those on the other side and their own team. They are
Mhm.
going path that is meant for them. There is nothing I can do aside from giving advice and speaking when asked, because that's the other thing of me. I don't tell
Mhm.
my child anything unless she says, "Mom, I need you to support me," or "Mom, what do you think?" I don't do that. I
Mhm.
don't do that thing. If I feel really strong, I have to, I will say, "Can I give you my opinion?" I always buffer it, right? Because I want to respect that boundary of friendship here. I want you to come to me for everything. And you know what? They come for me for everything. I have
Mhm.
boy, 16-year-old son who rats on himself because of how really well I've critiqued this. There's no like all you got to say is, "I got to tell you something. I need a minute." When my daughter said one time, "Mom, I got to tell you something." I went, "All right, just a second." And I literally, in my guidance, brought her guide forward and asked, "Is she pregnant?" They said no. "Did she total the car?" They said no. "Did they do something in my car?" "I love my car." She said no. "Okay, there's nothing you could tell me right now that's going to piss me off. Go, babe." You know what I mean? Like I had to go
Yeah.
through the whole thing
And
and codes over here. But with your mom, it's just very much feeling like she's on all the time in mom mode to smother in the best of way, love in the most way she can, and fear to keep you safe. We think adding fear to our children is going to keep them safe. Be careful. Watch before you cross the street. Don't talk to
Mhm.
strangers. Get in the car. Don't answer that phone. Don't go to that party. Don't you drink anything. Like, that's not helping anything. It's not. You're adding fear to a situation. Instead, we can do it in a different way. And that's been my vision. And it's honest to God, hands to God. It is what has supported the relationships I have with my kids because I want you to experience life, but I want you to do it fully in the
Mhm.
know, knowing no matter what I will be here. And yeah, there might be consequences for stupid behavior, but I'm going
Yeah.
to love you no matter what, you know?
And that's the thing I feel like now that it's transitioning from, you know, me and her relationship, it still needs I know it needs time and it needs to keep being worked on. So,
Yes.
I'm gonna keep trying on my end and I know she is too. And
Yeah.
when I see now with my daughter, it's like, oh, I'm like, "Oh, you're 8, you're about to be 8, you're about to hit you're about to hit these preteens and all this." And
Yeah.
so I'm often telling my daughter, "I don't want you to feel like you can never come to me as your mom because
Yeah.
I need to know these things in case of 1, it's a safety thing, 2, you can't if you're too afraid to speak up for yourself, your mom's gonna speak up for you. I'll always speak up for my daughter." And I was like, "You can always come to me no matter what. I'm not saying that there's going to be moments where I have to be strict and you're going to have to understand and the reasons why I'm doing the things that I do. But I also learned that um, with me and my daughter, I don't want to be too strict, but I don't want to be too overbearing. And I want her to feel that she can always come to me.
You
And
know,
so
when
I'm
I when I
learning that.
Yeah, and I love that, and that's so good. And one of the things that I've done in that same energy with mine is, I've told my daughter. So when my daughter was in high school, she was physically bullied, like pushed down the stairs. They had no cameras in the
Mhm.
stairwells. She'd be pushed down the stairs. I mean, uh, this school in Colorado was absolutely horrific, horrific. And I always said to her, I am a pit bull on a leash. I'm a pit bull on a leash. I'm going to respect your authority and your autonomy. I'm going to respect your space and all of the things. When you're ready for me, you just got to let me know. I am a pit bull on a leash, and I'm fierce. My kids are my trigger. They're my trigger. They're on the happy trigger list and they're on a not so great list. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I can be ballistic with my kids without even knowing I'm about to lose my mind. Because hello, Mama Bear, right here too. But I've always told my kids, I'm a pit bull on the leash. You go handle your business to whatever level and degree you think you need to whatever level and degree you feel you can. But when it's time, know that I am here and I will, you know what I mean? Like, I think
Mhm.
they all be worried I'd go literally fight somebody. Like, that's the thing that's crazy for me. Like, when have I ever lost my shit to such a level and degree where somebody had, like, I've never done that. Why are you so afraid of what's going to happen? Why? You know what I mean? Because I assert myself, my energy changes drastically and they know this. That's
Mhm.
the thing they're actually picking up on, not your words or your demeanor. It's the how mom shifts that they're like, oh God. But I always told my daughter this. And she did her thing. She attempted to diffuse, she attempted to speak up for herself. But when it got
Mhm.
to a place of utter depression, I was like, girlfriend, pit bull on a leash. And I went to that school, I dropped a stack of books. The Energy Bus by John Gordon. Love that man. You got to read it to your daughter. It's so good. Not everybody gets on your bus, right? You got to have a golden ticket,
Yeah.
permission, right? Love that book. Had a stack of books on their desk and said, you need to do better, and I'm here to help you. Kids listen to other kids. We need to be putting our children in our schools to advocate for this because they don't listen to adults. They don't care about what we have to say. We're
You know
old,
what?
we're and we're
My
done.
daughter's teacher was like, it's best that kids learn from other kids versus learning from the adults. And I was
Yeah.
really uneased about that because I was like, I don't like that. I don't
Mm.
like that if the child is teaching my kid a bad behavior, she comes home and she's doing that bad behavior. And
I think, yeah.
I don't feel comfortable with this. And I was like, can't we just have her go a little closer to you? Like one-on-one with you. And they were like, no, she's going to be much easier learning from her classmates than learning. And I was like, okay, we'll try it your way. But if your way doesn't work, we're going to switch it and we're going to do it my way
Yeah,
because
and I think there's vetting in that because I did. My daughter did
Mhm.
go and she spoke to the freshman class about what to expect in high school and like bullying and things of that nature. I think there's vetting when it comes to that because I
Mhm.
do agree with the concept. Totally agree with the concept. But if Johnny Jones is on the freaking playground dropping F bombs, I don't want to learn that. You know what I mean? Like I want to
Mhm.
learn how Samantha in classroom 2 is showing up and being a positive light in the world. Like that's what I want to learn. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so I
Yeah.
think there's discernment, and I think there's the vetting process, if you will. But I agree. I mean, kids, they are consuming things that are their level all the time. Social media, in their schools. That's why supporting them with finding friends that are in the area of where you want to be, in the likeness of who you want to become. That's the
Mhm.
key as
Because
parents.
social like you touched on the point, social media is so dangerous right now. And no offense to people that everybody gets on it. You know what I mean? But for children right now, like for example, with the whole Roblox situation or
Um,
Snapchat or anything like that. I like Snapchat. I like Snapchat for the filters. It's fun. It's fun for me. I like Instagram and I like TikTok. But I feel like we need to be a little bit more safe and secured when it comes to social media and children because one day I was doing something. Me and my spouse were doing something and she was on her dad's phone. And she was like, he's like, I'm not gonna tell. He said, but I'm gonna tell it. And so she was like looking at something inappropriately. And I said, little lady, where did you find this from? I said, are you learning this from school? And she was like, no. I said, did you learn this from something that you watched on Netflix maybe or on Disney? No. So what I did, I said, I'm not going to discipline you. I'm going to have a stern conversation, which I did. I said, however, I'm going to secretly, when she was in her sleep, I said, I'm gonna change all parental controls on here. We're not gonna, I'm changing it on her Netflix. I'm changing it on her Disney without her knowing. 'Cause she'll know if something has changed. And
Yeah.
so
I think
I'm
those are I think those are amazing steps. Amazing, amazing steps. You know,
glad
and yeah, and also, you know, protecting our kids is talking to our kids because we're not gonna be with them all the time. We're not gonna be on the playground. We're not
oh,
gonna be in the bus stop. We're not gonna be in the car when their friends, this is what I'm dealing with right now, licenses, you know, and boys.
okay.
And
Don't
so
talk
like
about this.
yeah, like being in the car.
I'm already dealing with that. The boy thing.
Yeah.
Wrong
Talk to her.
answer.
Talk to her. I never strayed from giving my kids too much information. They asked a question, I gave them way more information than they needed. Why? Because you're not out on the street finding it out from
I'm not at the playground either, so I can't
nope,
see what's being and
exactly.
I had to explain that to her because there was we were at her little jogathon last week. A little boy was like, "Hey, this Ariana's my girlfriend." And
Mm,
I didn't hear it, but
mm,
my spouse, her dad and her, she's like, "Bye." And her dad was like, "Who is that?" And she was like, "That's my boyfriend." And I said, I turned because at first I didn't hear it. So when we got home and she said it
mm,
again, I turned and I said, hey, you can have friends all day. I don't care about friends. I said, but you're only 7 going into 8. You
yeah.
don't have no boyfriends. There's no, no, we're not doing all of that. And she was
Mm-hmm.
like, I know, mom. I said, no, you say you know. I said, but
Do you know?
do
I'm
you
gonna
know?
make sure you know.
And I was like, you're starting all this so 7, 6. What is happening? I said, you know what?
It's speeding
You're
up.
not going to stress me. You're not going to stress me today. I didn't, having the conversations. I like being to educate our children and what we need because
Absolutely.
like you stated, from when I was younger, we could be outside till the street light came on and we didn't have no worries or having the screen door open and we can just run in and out whenever we wanted to, or we can go to our friend's house. And now with her generation, it's so different. They're like really exercising on social media and they're being a little bit more vocal than they should, but I'll take it. It's just a lot. I see the difference and I see the change and I see that one of the things I love talking about and I had talked about on my podcast was there was a show that I watched on ABC. I think it's called The Parenting Test. I don't know if you've seen it, but it talked about all different forms of parenting. You go from having the gentle parenting to having the strict parenting, and they gave these exercises of what was different. And me and my spouse had watched it together. I wish they come out with a second season. If you hear this, please come out with a second season. But I watched it and I was like, oh my God. I said, I'm the gentle parent. And I was so in shock with myself. I was like, oh no. I said, I'm the gentle parent. I said, but I'm also the strict parent. I said, so what do I do with all of it? You know?
I
And
think it
so,
depends on our kids. It depends on your children.
mhm,
I don't label myself a certain. I have watched that show, and some of it was like, yeah, okay, I had to turn this off. Because I don't like an invitation to judge. Let's put it that way. And some of
mm,
these shows are good at invitations to judge, and I don't want to do that. Honestly, for me, I've always gone by it depends on the child,
mhm,
and where they are. I know my kids. I know my kids. I know the types of conversations I can have with each and every one of them. My
mhm,
daughter, all I had to do was give her a side eye and she would melt and she would tattle. Grandma, she's looking at me with that face again. She would just utterly in shambles, in shambles. My son, my oldest, my second child, they are so true when they say, it's so true when they say your second child, they're coming for you. Because I can look at him and just say, listen, I don't like the attitude, you better cut it. And he'll just come back and say, little lady, I'll pick you up right off your feet right here and place you on that couch. Like, who are you talking to? You know what I mean? Like he will meet you toe to toe, And there's sarcasm and there's that bantering where it's
mhm.
appropriate, but he knows.
He knows.
He knows.
Yeah.
And my twins are my twins are my twins. Like they can do no wrong because they're my babies. There's two of them, but like they were the last pregnancy. They can do no wrong, but my
Mhm,
Mason struggles with ticks. when he gets really worked up and anxious. And so me being any type of stern throws the nervous system out. You gotta be a certain way. My Alexander, he's the one that's the social bug. He's the one all over YouTube shorts. He's the one that's like, oh my God, can I paint my nails? And can I go on the thing? And I got to work with your mic. And he's down here dancing with the crystals and the music and the Taylor Swift stuff right now. And it's just like, holy,
That's
holy smoke. You know what I mean? And so like there's absolutely, my opinion, hashtag Jackie's opinion. There's a time and a place for all kinds of different style of parenting. You
mm-hmm.
know, I choose my style as just straight love. And I can feel it from you as well, because, you know, you haven't spoken privately or openly that I have heard about your upbringing and, you know, about the things that you've gone through. We as parents have to remember the things we've gone through were for us. Yes, they shaped us into who we are today, but they do not need to be something we add on to our children out of fear.
Yeah, and the
I don't
pressure.
need, and the pressure. I don't need to protect you
And
for this.
that's why I was telling my daughter, like, you're too young. And I said, just
Yep.
this is a time to have fun. You
Yeah.
don't get this back. You know,
No.
have the most fun you've ever had. And I said, I'm trying to work on getting vacations because my job, they don't like
Yes.
to do vacations. I said, we're going to I said, we're going to do a staycation. We're going to do a vacation. We're going to do something. I said, because
Yep.
you only live once. And I
Yeah.
said, you never know when your time is up. You don't
Yeah.
know. And for me, it goes back with my grandmother because I we've had conversations. Me and my grandmother would talk every weekend. And, you know, the moment that she passed, it broke me. And it
Oh
still
yeah.
breaks me. It
Yeah.
really does. But I know she hears me and I know she's with me. So I tend to be like, hey, grandma, I know the light is flickering. I don't know if that's you or not, but if it is, you know, have it your way. If it's your will, it's your way. But I always used to tell my grandmother, I was like, grandma, you're staying here forever. Like, there's not coming a time where I'm going to have to deal with this. And when it did happen, I was like, this is it.
It isn't. It isn't, because the physical body is no longer there, but the essence and the soul is. You know, and she's so connected to your daughter, so connected to your daughter. You know, when you catch her, you know, talking to herself or in that imaginary friend type thing, you know, that's her essence playing. You know, that's her there. You know, she leaves you coins. I don't know if you've noticed pennies from heaven, like that kind of a thing, but like there's going to be times where a lot of that comes forward for you. Know that that is her for sure, you know, and talking to her 100%, you can't hear her, but you can feel her. And that's communication. The same, it's not the way we want it, the way we're accustomed to here in the physical world as a human. But when
Mhm.
you feel that heart feeling or those chills, that's her. 100% that's her, you know? And, you know, the bond that was created in the physical world isn't broken at all. There's no way. There's no way that could, you know. She's lived lifetimes with you as well. So she's been the mom role. She's been the sister role. You know, she's
Has
definitely
been the mom role for sure. She has
yeah.
here been the mom role. The mom role has been endless. She has been, hey Erica, I'm not liking this. This is not it. But she's like I said, the moment it happened for me and like me and my cousin, we just talked about it about a week or so ago. And his birthday just happened on a couple days ago too. And we often go back. I think what it was is as we talked about it, because we don't like talking about it, because we act more like brother and sister more than like first
More.
cousins.
Yeah.
And so I think what it was is when my grandmother did pass, I felt like she knew I couldn't handle it being there, but he could. And
Yeah.
she talked about it with him. And I was like, are you sure you want me to come up here? She's like, no. I was like, are you sure you want me to, show you Ariana? Ariana was asleep when it happened. And she was like, no, baby, I don't want that. And she was like, I was like, well, I love you. And I knew the last moment that I said, I love you. I said, I knew this is it. This
Yeah.
is it. This is,
And that's the thing. There was no unspoken words. There weren't any unspoken words. You knew how much she loved you, and she knew how much you loved her. There were no unspoken words, you know, and take comfort in that. And as you do feel some of that grief in the heart space start to get subside, because here's the thing, grief blocks us. We think it's connecting us still. But the
Mhm.
more we let go of the sadness of their departure, the stronger you're going to feel their presence move through. the more aware you'll become of the signs and the synchronicities that are without a doubt. I will give you the story. Right there, that's my small self. That's me
Mhm.
in third or fourth grade. And this is a picture of my grandparents. I know you can't see it, but there's a picture of my grandparents at my wedding. And there's a bottle someplace up in that area of just like a full bottle, no label or anything on it. My dad had been leveling my bathroom and broke into the wall to change some of the plumbing. And there was this bottle of liquid in there, and I opened it and it smelled just like my grandmother. And I said, "Oh my God." Like I just could, like, it took me back. I stepped back and I had my dad's mom. And he's just like, "Whoa." And so like I have my grandmother's scent. She was the Elizabeth Taylor's White Diamond. If anybody's ever, you can't never, ever not. Ugh, like, just it takes everybody back to their grandma. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, but like that's the stuff that showed that's undeniable when it comes
Mhm.
forward. And that grief has been released because then you have the capacity to have the awareness and to see it.
I like,
Yeah.
because I feel like there's some type of I'm just like, "I just need you to be here." Like, now I'm to the point where I was like, "I need you to be here." Like, "I need you here." Like, I want you physically here, and I understand that I'm trying to still understand, like, I can't pick up the phone and be like, "Hey, this just happened with Ariana today." Like, she lost her tooth, like, a couple days ago. She just lost her new tooth. And I wanted to be like, "Hey, she lost her new tooth," or just like, "We've been working on tying her shoes, and now she's officially like, hey, we hit another milestone." And I can't pick up the phone and be like, "Hey, grandma, she did this today," or give pictures like for picture day. So it's like, it's still a little bit of a struggle. And so I know we are in such a good conversation about also
I
like
know,
living your
I know.
purpose
Yeah, I
and
don't
healing.
end there, but I do. I don't,
I
and if
know.
you,
So I am so happy, but I do wanna ask you one thing. Can you leave me, one, can you tell where the listeners can find you, first and foremost? Because I know we're in such a good conversation. And then secondly, can you leave, I guess, words of affirmation or something with me in reference to this podcast for living your purpose? And
yes,
then
of
we'll
course,
wrap up.
absolutely. So you can find me at JacquelineHopper.com. For those of you who are on social media, you can find me at Jacqueline Hopper on Instagram and Facebook. I'm Self Mastery Guide on Facebook as well. So you can connect to me in those places. Um, right now, I want to invite your guests, if they've loved the podcast, to check out the Vault of Mastery, which is my membership group, because we go very deep into networking in there. We go deep into lessons and, a lot of experiences relating to self mastery. There's a lot of psychic channeling in there too. So if people are interested, they can go JacquelineHopper.com/the vault and learn more about that. Some affirmations and words of wisdom that I would give you with regards to not just the essence of you and the essence of your podcast, the essence of your audience, is to know that no matter where you are exactly where you're meant to be. My life sign is an arrow because I can never go backwards. I am only always moving forwards. And so when you feel pulled back, know that it's not going to be long before you launch, because it's inevitable.
Well, thank you for those words of affirmation. And thank you, Jacqueline, for being on this podcast today. You guys, when I say the conversation behind doors is matches the conversation on this podcast today, you have no idea. If you guys want to check out the podcast or any latest podcasts, of course, you can go to the Balance Boss Mom podcast.com. I just had a new website drop. You can find me on Instagram at Balance Boss Mom Officials, which is the Instagram. And you can also check me out on wherever you stream. And also, the streaming will be available also on YouTube. So, again, as I always say to my friends, remember you are not alone on your journey, and the balance, the peace, and the clarity you will have throughout this episode is going to be wonderful. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you for watching the Balance Boss Mom podcast and listening.
Yeah.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Thank you.